project stemmed from an idea that Lisa and I, realised was an issue when we were carrying out our doctoral research. We were working with social workers, Lisa in mental health, me in child protection, and we realised that when we were exploring the issue of identity, or trying to understand how social workers constructed their identity, that something that popped up was that social workers don't have the opportunity to report on the practice that they carry out. And this is because of issues of confidentiality, and they're not able to talk about the people that they're working with. And what we realised was that silence has created a gap, and that gap has been filled by the media. And the media have a specific view, a dominant narrative that has kind of scapegoated, stereotyped social workers, she-folk devil type figures versus fools. And this is something that the society can hear, listen to and be persuaded by. And we felt that space needed to be challenged, and the only way we could do that was by talking to social workers about their lived experiences of doing social work and being a social worker. But for that to hit home and for people to try and understand what that meant for a social worker from their perspective, we thought that the best way to do it would be a sensory way, and for social workers to use art to express their lived experiences of doing social work. And this is how this project's come about. Together with Matt Morris, our visual arts expert, we had social workers come to the arts workshop and use different materials to express those feelings, and then afterwards they told us their stories of doing social work. And that's what is here today in the exhibition, is the visual plus the oral narratives and the stories that were told in text next to that. We've taken extracts that we think creates a realistic picture, and I know some people have found it overwhelming, very powerful, emotive, concerning, disturbing, but some social workers have been and left feedback saying that they're really pleased the story has been told, that they've been given an opportunity, a voice to be heard. And there are some people who are disappointed that there aren't enough uplifting stories. But all of the stories that are being told, they are uplifting. What the social workers are saying is that they enjoy working with children and adults. This is the focus of what they came in to do social work for. But they're being prevented from doing that. They're being prevented by bureaucracy, mounting issues within the organisation, which can only be described as the number of increasing policies, procedures that limit them from spending time with the people that they came in to do social work with. And underneath those positive messages, there's a tone of realism. So one of them, the uplifting hands one, talks about the feeling that she gets when she spends half an hour with a family and that connection that she makes. But she recognises that she may be the fifth or sixth social worker that this family's had. So there's the tone of realism, the recognition that they're allowing that social worker to make that connection despite disillusionment with the service, and the social worker feeling optimistic that because of that connection she can go on to keep trying to build a relationship despite what's going on in the organisation, despite spending so much time at her computer, despite completing so many reports. She'll find that time to build that relationship and make that connection with the people that she's working with. I think it surprised me the amount of positive feedback that we've had. I think that I wasn't expecting it to go down so well. I was expecting more negative feedback. And a few people have commented on that aspect of it, that they were disappointed in the depiction of social work, but more of a disappointment in that they hadn't realised that this is social work today. In contemporary society, this is where social workers are working, and unfortunately children and adults are part of that system, and that isn't right, and it needs to be challenged. These stories need to be told. It's stories that people aren't aware of, and as a result it makes people can only lean on the stories that they've been told by the media, a negative perspective, whereas I think the stories that you're being told here in this exhibition are the realistic, and they're humane stories, and I think that they make connections between social workers and the people that they're working with, and I think that's a really important story to be told. The People's History Museum is really important for me because it stands for anti-oppression. It is a museum that hosts artwork for marginalised groups. And I argued when I submitted the proposal that social work is a marginalised profession compared to the other professions. It struggles with its own stigma. And the application was accepted, and we're now in the community gallery, and it is a wonderful space to host this artwork and the stories that social workers have to tell. And I'm really proud that it's here for 2 months. We hope to go on a tour around the country. Sheffield is our next stop, which is going to be really interesting, transferring it there to different places, different opportunities that we can manage to spread that word, spread the message that social workers want to tell in different
the artists themselves have said in the audios about there's systemic problems and we should be doing things differently, and just starting to think, well, what might that be? Didn't get very far with those thoughts, but just thinking about ways in which, you know, the system can work better for social workers and for people it's supposed to serve by providing services to them. Yeah.
What did you think of the artwork?
Enjoyed it. I preferred the print and the clay models. I wasn't a big fan of the wire ones because I felt you could see less of them. But overall, I was really impressed and kind of a bit inspired to think, what could I do? But yeah, I enjoyed it overall.
And which do you think was the most powerful piece?
There were different ones. The two that kind of resonated because they were kind of similar sides of the same coin was there was one, a clay model with someone with their mouth open, almost kind of shouting and wanting to be heard, and then there was one with a clay model with someone with their mouth stitched up, and they were kind of saying similar things about voices trying to speak and not being heard, but they were both powerful and kind of saying the same message but with the opposite kind of, if you like, facial expression. So I thought that was quite interesting. There was one on systemic practice which was always also a clay model as well, which is interesting. It was kind of concentric circles and a family with a child in the centre, and the artists themselves, the social worker, had said that when they looked at it they felt that was quite stultifying, like it felt stifling, and I looked at that image and thought that it looked quite warm and reassuring and safe. So it was interesting, that kind of thing that you look at a piece of art and you interpret it through your own lens at that particular time. The person who made it saw it in this quite negative way, and when I saw it quite positively, so that was quite interesting as well.
Did you listen to any of the recordings?
Yeah, I think I listened to them all. Yeah.
And what did you think about what the participants had to say?
Really, really powerful. Some of them quite harrowing. There were a couple where people had kind of broken down and in tears, and very difficult experiences. Before I came, I didn't know that it would be so kind of, that the experiences would overall be quite negative. I guess, knowing what I do with social work, that doesn't surprise me in reflection, but I hadn't expected it going in, and I suppose there were some positive experiences as well, but the really negative ones really stuck out in the audios for me, and really resonated. And it came back to that thing about people being ground down by a system when they've gone into that system to try and make things better for people, and just coming out. Sometimes it sounded like quite broken people themselves, and that was quite sad, but very, very powerful.
Have you enjoyed the event?
Yeah, very much so, yeah. I think enjoyed it, but I'll also take away thoughts and feelings from it, and I think that's a sign of something that's been effective and been powerful.
And the final question is, would you recommend the exhibition to anyone that you know?
Yeah, absolutely. I brought a friend with me today who worked in a similar field, and she's not a social worker, but she was saying that many of the experiences resonated with her as a clinical psychologist, and I definitely recommend it to any professionals. I think it will resonate with them. But it was interesting hearing Annie speak about her experiences as a mother, and how some of social workers' experience resonated with her as a mother, and what she'd gone through in terms of the social work system. So I think people who've had contact with social work or similar services, I think will find it brings things about their experiences to the fore. So yeah.